I want to talk about something that I think is very important. Not only is it really important, it's something that a lot of men start to feel in today's society. And the reason why a lot of men feel this way, they feel uncomfortable about marriage today. You will get men at a certain age that'll say men ain't scared of marriage. It's just that they don't want to take responsibility. This message is not for you. These are not the ones that end up coming up in a certain era where your women think a lot differently about life. Furthermore, this is about today's times. Today's times when we talk about marriage, why a lot of men are not doing the marriage thing because they don't feel like it's a real benefit, and the reason why they don't feel like it's a real benefit is because all the things that's starting to take place when it comes to marriages and how men are starting to lose a lot of their items that they worked so hard for. Not only that, when you look at the way men operate today, they still operate from a sense of back in the day when a lot of times we end up getting that guidance and that information, but that information that we receive today, not me, but a lot of dudes today that are really young, under 30. And Imma say that because they are misguided. They got they got younger dudes thinking that marriage is supposed to be the thing, but a lot of younger guys now are starting to realize, yo, it's not what it is, because 'cause they're seeing the downfall of it. It could have been a beautiful thing. It used to be a beautiful thing, but now we're in a different era now, you know? I want you to hear this right here.
Next. Well, if you marry, there's about a 56% chance that your marriage will end in divorce. Now, that doesn't take into consideration how many people may consult with a divorce lawyer because they're having difficulty in their marriage, but they choose subsequent to meeting me not to divorce for some particular reason, whether that's they don't want to part with half of their funds or they've just decided it's easier to stay miserable and with a person.
Please hear that. Hear what he just said. Please, please hear that. That's something that's really important. Dudes are not trying to lose majority of their stuff, and that will make a lot of dudes clock out of here. It's sad to say that, but a lot of dudes I see the old heads talk about they just weak. Problem is, you come up in a different era. You can't compare it.
Or they're staying together for the kids, but they want to know what their rights were. So if you marry, the chances of meeting someone like me are more likely than not if we look at it that way, because it's more than 50%. So it's a high number, you know.
But if we define failure as all of the other things you've described there, where we kind of stay together but we're miserable, or we stay together for some other reason, what percentage of marriages on that basis do you think actually fail?
I mean, if we consider failure staying together miserable for the children or staying together for financial economic reasons, and then we add that to the 56% that end in divorce, then I mean, it would be very hard to track that, but I think it's generous to think it's another 20% probably. But I mean, think about what that adds up to. That means that you've got you've got something that fails 75% of the time. That's a negligent activity. That is more likely than not to cause significant harm in your life. So I don't say that to sound like the Grim Reaper when it comes to marriage. I actually really think marriage is a lovely thing, and I get misty-eyed at weddings like anybody, and not just for future business purposes.
Now, take into consideration that this is a divorce attorney, a divorce lawyer that is actually giving you advice. But he's not only giving you advice. You might look at this and say he's not giving you advice. People don't have to literally look you in your face and give you advice. When you listen to a person talk long enough and you shut up, like a lot of people today don't know how to be quiet. When people's giving advice, a lot of times you gotta listen and say, "Hmm." If the first thing that come to your mind, not me, hey, you gonna be the one. We're seeing some of the most prominent couples break up. I don't really think it has a lot to do with just the lack of love. I think it's just the thing of we got so many options out here today, and not only that, it's no benefit for a lot of people to stay together and in certain people's eyes. When you look at one person in the party, not to say that women are all to blame, but I'm gonna just say this: when you got too many options, or you got options whereas though you have an escape whereas though you can take funds from one person, whereas though it seems like you still married, but you're not. And the person that's making the bread, which means most of the time it's the guy, you're gonna have very tiny percentage of women that's end up making it like that, whereas though they paying their spouse bread. You hear about it, but it's very minimal. But when you hear about men, men are getting ran through. So when you look at marriage and they wonder why marriage is not happening like it used to, it's a reason why. It's a reason why. Cats are not just signing up for something that's going to make them feel like damn their life is dying slowly.
I think the statistic that's even more interesting to me than how many marriages end in divorce or how many people stay together miserable is that 86% of people who divorce remarry within 5 years. So think about that. Now you've done this thing, it's failed. You've gone through this difficult process of having to undo it. And now within 5 years, 86% of people remarry. I mean, so that tells you how important this is to us as humans, how drawn to this idea, this technology of marriage we are. And that to me is fascinating because I've often said, like, I'm not sure what marriage was designed, what problem is marriage designed to solve?
Yo, I never really thought about marriage like that. And I got married. And I'm going to be real with you. I'm not saying marriage is a bad thing, but I'm going to tell you this. I don't see where it helps. I always hear, like, dog, think about this. You always hear a guy, and I'm not bashing or nothing, but I'm keeping it real. I don't want to, these guys that be like, well, marriage is a beautiful thing. Stop, 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 stop. Let's be realistic. When did it come into play when it come to marriage where we buying a ring and we doing a ceremony? We did not see this. It's not up in the Bible. It's not all. So when people keep using everything as Bible and everything with like just when it comes to marriage, where? Where? It seemed like a setup plan whereas though once government got involved, whenever that happened, then that's when you start seeing that things just started going hayward. Things just skyrocketed out of control. When you start to lose control of your relationship and they say, guy, masculinity, yo, man, shut up. Because all of a sudden, when you put your foot down, all of a sudden it starts to seem as though you're abusive. I'm not seeing where it benefited me. And this is coming from somebody going through a divorce. So don't sit up there and look at me as, well, you ain't never been married before. Shit, going through a divorce now. We co-parent very well. But I tell you, in the beginning it was rough. But you see why it's so many relationships that are crashing and burning because there's no real benefit no more. It don't feel as though when you don't feel a benefit, you're gonna clock out because it takes two people to be able to come together to see a real benefit of a relationship. And when you're not seeing it, you can always say you gotta pray about it. Well, how you gonna pray about something when a lot of people today pray about stuff? But then you'll get that ignorant person to say, but you wasn't praying right. Shut up. People act like they got the answer when it comes to prayers. Shut up. This ain't no Tyler Perry movie. Marriages ain't like a Tyler Perry movie. You not going in a room trying to figure it out, and then the end result, y'all lovey-dovey all over again. That ain't happening like that no more. It's not happening. It never did happen. It's fantasy. When I thought I could fix my marriage, I really couldn't fix it. You know why? Because I was clocked out. When you clock out, it's hard to go back into work after you clocked out. You know why? Because you're ready to go home. Only difference is when you're talking about a marriage, going home means peace and by yourself. Going home means a new home. The old house you used to be in feels like a house that you're going back to, but without the chaos. Sometimes people just want peace.
See, the fact that it takes this long to think. If I said to you, what purpose does this technology, this mug, what does it serve? Well, that's easy, right? It's hard to drink out of your hands, and someone would have to keep coming up and pouring things in our hands. Okay, well, that's pretty straightforward. What problem does this solve? Well, that's easy, right? We want to get, the ring stains around. We get yelled at by our significant other for not using a coaster. So these are easy things. But marriage, something so ubiquitous that it's assumed. If you're dating someone for a few years and you say, guess what? We're getting married. Everyone goes, of course, phenomenal, congratulations, that's great, of course you're going to do that. You make an honest woman of her, of course. Whereas if you say, we've been together for 3-4 years, we decided we're not going to get married, people go, oof, what's wrong with this guy? He's got intimacy issues, he's not getting married. What's the problem that you don't want to get married? Whereas rationally, the response should be, oh yeah, we're getting married. What? Are you kidding me? Why are you doing that? It's like someone saying, I'm going to go skydiving. It's like, wait, are you crazy? That's a dangerous thing to do. And it's not, listen, skydiving, it's not like 75%, 76% of people die who are skydiving. So the truth is, like, it makes very little sense to me that marriage is assumed to be a thing you will do, when in fact we as a species are so unbelievably bad at it.
That sort of 86% that then get remarried after divorce, have they learned from their mistakes? Are they better at marriage?
This time it's different. It's this time I'm really in love. That other time when I thought I was in love, that wasn't it. This time it's different. It really, it's a blind spot. And again, where does it come from? You'd have to ask people smarter than me.
It just goes to show you, man, like, it's funny, man, when you fall in love with somebody, you never really look at the what if, unless you've been scorned or you had a very bad divorce or a very bad breakup. You'll start to look at things and say, whoa, hold on, what if? It's sad to look at relationships that way. But it says a lot about society, whereas though you can easily lose a lot of your stuff. And I get it that people always talk about, not people, certain people, women talk about, well, you should not go into it like that. Well, shit, why you put up half your shit? Why? Why you put up your stuff? You know why? If you look at how women operate, this is where I say men are slow. And I'm going to tell you why. I even peeped it. Even my own self. My own mother talked me into getting married. Why? I don't know. Hers didn't work. Hers didn't work. She had more than one. I don't look at my mom as bad, but I look at her as you not the example of what I'm trying to take after. So I get married, and then you realize that, certain qualities that I looked at, I did not realize that later on down the line, once you're a good 2 to 3 years in, you realize, what was the reason for me to get married? To keep everybody together? What is the difference? See, this is the thing that no one can really explain. They could never explain to you what's the benefit of marriage. They always say, oh, it keeps the family together. It's a good household. I hear the dude, Antoine Daniels, talk like that. I used to hear him talk about keeping his wife, and everybody together. He'd never get a divorce. But guess what? Now that dude's caught all up in a scandal. Not even a scandal. You got Jones all around him. Next thing you know, it's like he don't even live in a house that he's supposed to be living in. He's living in a condo. You don't know what's the truth. You just know that when you see people preaching about certain stuff, about you need to be married, you need to do this and that, they don't operate from the sense of the reality that they pushing out. They tell you what to do, but what you see them do is the opposite of what they doing. But then when you question what they actually doing, they say, well, I'm doing something different because I'm a certain type of tier of man. Make it make sense. Certain things don't make sense to us because it don't make sense. What reason is it when you see a woman that have a lot of money or she a millionaire status don't seem to get married? On eyes, you don't see it. People say, "Oh, such and such got married. Beyonce got married. Jay-Z got married." Shut up. They both had money. For some odd reason, sometimes women be thinking Beyonce billionaire. Okay, Jay-Z no different. They don't need each other. Both successful without each other. See, the problem is in life, people will equate the biggest stars, not realizing you don't even know what these stars actually how they live. You don't even know how they live. You just hear about the things they buy. You don't even know if they actually bought it. You don't even know how their relationship is turning out. If you look up Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Look them up if I believe. Hold on. Goldie Hawn. Look up Goldie Hawn. Just Goldie Hawn. And I think it's Kurt Russell, I believe. Look up their relationship. Never ever got married. And she checked the guy that was interviewing her and said, "Didn't you go through 2 divorces?" He was like, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay, it looks like we outlast you. And now we probably end up outlasting you again if you end up getting married a third time." Who set up this? It just makes you wonder.
You know, it could be neuroscience. It could be the realm of a real deep social psychology. It could just be a cognitive bias. I have no idea. It could be a delusion brought on by inadequate lighting, you know, but whatever it is, we go, oh yeah, but this one's different. This one, I did a prenup last week for a guy who went through one of the ugliest divorces I've ever seen, and that's not hyperbole. Like, I've been doing this for 25 years, just to say. So for me to say the ugliest divorce I've ever seen that's amazing. That's a really big deal. That's like a Michelin chef saying this was the best meal I've ever had. So this guy had a horrific divorce that lasted 4 or 5 years. He's remarrying a woman 30 years younger than him who he met 4 months ago. And when I said to him, as artfully and tactfully as I could, you know, you've only known this person for a short time, and, you know, have you thought about maybe just, you know, being a little cautious in terms of, you've seen how difficult a divorce can be, you know, do you think maybe it might be? He goes, oh no, I've never felt anything like this. I've never been this in love. I've never been so connected with someone. We just get each other. And, you know, it would be very indelicate and rude for me to say, like, snap out of it, man. You got to get your, like, really, you know, bring your logical brain to this equation. Do not bring the part of you that's just filled with romance and has Christmas in your eyes. Like, really, you got to look at this honestly.
You know what's sad, man? This is why you can tell the difference how a woman thinks and how a man thinks. And one thing that I notice is women can have a switch. They got a switch. They can fake the game and they can play the game till they get exactly what they want. The sad part about it is you got dudes out here today that actually are blinded. Not only blinded, and I can admit, I've been there. You don't pay attention to a lot of things. You don't pay attention to a lot of things because you feel so comfortable, so entrenched into love. But the problem is when you're so entrenched into the whole love factor that makes you feel like, oh man, lovey dovey. And then next thing you know, like many guys, what the hell happened? Now you sitting there, you snapping. You're not realizing, how did I end up here? You know the sad part? No one can really tell you how you ended up in the place that you ended up in when it comes to divorce. But you also will end up looking back on the relationship and saying to yourself, damn, I now remember all the red flags. But for some odd reason, you never seem to catch the red flags when you're so entrenched into the love factor of things. Reason why is because you emotionally feel connected, sexually you driven, got your testosterone going sky high. That new P feels different. Not only it feels good, but you also have so much in common that you feel as though you have in common until you get to a certain point where as though everything done came to a standstill. And now you looking around trying to figure out what the hell happened in your life. And what tends to happen is your time is up. And when your time is up, sadly, the honest living, trying to be faithful, trying to do all the things that you possibly try to do for your family, your time end up becoming up. Then when your time becomes up, now you find yourself faced with what Tyrese is going through. All the good things that a woman asks for in life, and next thing you know, she take you to court and she trying to cripple you, trying to bury you financially. Like and subscribe. Appreciate if you watch this whole video. But I'm gonna tell you right now, all my guys out here, man, it's time to wise up and become smarter, smarter and sharper. That's the only thing you can do, you know? And be major out here. Peace and love.